Hello guys, this is the Gaming Revolution here and welcome back to an all new Call of Duty 2020 leaked informational video. Now this is the video that you have all been waiting for. Today we will be discussing the new Black Ops game scheduled to release this fall, primarily developed by Treyarch Studios but also in assistance with Sledgehammer Games and Raven Software. Today I have a bunch of new exclusive information, mainly surrounding multiplayer, but I do have some zombies and auto campaign stuff to talk about as well. Now I do want to say to remain cautiously optimistic for this game. Bear in mind Treyarch were forced into work on this game only around 9 or so months ago, so they are not going to get the regular 3-year development cycle. And also the game could possibly be affected by the coronavirus, which could further slow down development. A lot of others and I got overhyped for Modern Warfare and it led to us being let down on release. I would advise you guys, no matter what you hear within this video, no matter how excited it gets you guys, to try and just calm down a little bit. You can still be excited for the game and you can still look forward to it whilst not falling into the hype trap. I think if you try and do this, you will have a better experience on launch. Now this is likely to be the first of many videos covering information for this game, so make sure you do subscribe to the channel for any future updates that I do indeed here. Now a lot of you have been asking me how development is coming along for Call of Duty 2020. Well, from who I have been talking to, they said that playtesters have been enjoying the game, but apparently in terms of its graphics, a lot of stuff is nowhere near done just yet. There's a lot of stuff that's apparently not textured in properly and stuff like that, but that is to be expected. The game is still a while away yet, but I'm really hoping that, as I was saying, the virus and stuff like that does not affect the outcome of the game. Now if you have any further questions that I do not answer surrounding the game within this video, be sure to leave your suggestions down in the comment section down below, so hopefully I can get an answer for you guys in a future video. Now of course, like with all leaked information, I need to advise you guys that this is all subject to change and misinterpretation as usual, so take some of it with a grain of salt. Things can always change until release, but I will try and keep you guys as up to date as possible. So prior to these leaks, what do we know thus far? Well, judging off of the Kotaku article from last year, in which discussed a load of the behind the scenes ongoings over at Treyarch, in which discussed mistreatment of QA testers, etc, they did state that Raven Software and Sledgehammer Games were previously co-developing Call of Duty 2020, and it was going to be a game set in the Cold War. However, apparently they had creative differences and fell out, according to this Kotaku article, and the game was just turning out to be a big mess, and so Activision apparently stepped in and forced Treyarch to take over development, with Raven Software and Sledgehammer Games still helping out in developing the game. Now Sledgehammer Games and Raven Software are still working on other things in Call of Duty. For example, they both helped out with Warzone for Modern Warfare, and Sledgehammer Games are also developing a free-to-play Call of Duty game, of which is going to be a spin-off that is scheduled to release around 2021. That is not a set in stone release date, but I'll talk about that more later on in another video. Now David Von der Haar has confirmed that this year's Call of Duty will not have exosuits / advanced movement. This was obvious anyways, you didn't need that confirming. Now within the Q1 investor call that Activision held, they did state that they are excited for the up and coming premium Call of Duty release this year. They did also state that the game is apparently receiving positive reactions from playtests. I'll play that for you guys right now.
And then of course in Q4 of this year, a new premium Call of Duty release, which is already generating excitement in our playtests.
In Q4, we plan to launch the next premium release of Call of Duty. We can't wait to unveil what our teams have been working on, and we feel great about the content. Although, as is customary, we are prudently assuming lower sell-in for Q4 versus Modern Warfare this past year.
Now the reason as to why they specified that it is going to be a premium Call of Duty release is because, like I was saying earlier, Call of Duty / Activision are planning to have a lot more free-to-play games due to the success of the free-to-play Call of Duty Mobile, but they will still be having regular main Call of Duties that you will have to pay for. Okay, so now I've recapped you guys on all of the official information, we finally are able to jump into the new information information. Now, I mainly have multiplayer information for you guys, however I do have some tad bits regarding zombies and also the campaign. However, this is just the very beginning. We are only in March, so the Call of Duty 2020 reveal is likely to be probably in around a month and a half. Long Sensation did put out a tweet over on Twitter alluding that it will be in May. Obviously, he has received leaked information in the past, such as Call of Duty 2019 being called Modern Warfare, even though all of the leakers were saying that it was going to be called Modern Warfare 4 because they were just using that as a codename or whatever to restrict the chances of leaks. So now that Treyarch are taking over this Call of Duty, with Sledgehammer Games and Raven Software helping, they will be turning it into a Black Ops game. And they will still be utilizing and using everything that Raven Software and Sledgehammer were working on previously, so any maps, missions, or anything like that, they will simply just rework them into their vision, but they will still reuse any assets and stuff like that that were previously being worked on. Okay, so first of all, I've been hearing that the game is going to be a reboot of the Black Ops franchise like Modern Warfare is. The campaign is apparently going to be mainly focused around the real-life events of the Cold War and also the Vietnam War. They are going to explore the Vietnam War a lot more than the original Black Ops game, because the original Black Ops didn't really follow real-life events that much. There was a handful of missions that delved into the Vietnam War, but we never took a deep dive into it. This game will be exploring that a lot deeper, and it's going to be a lot more realistic take on these two wars, as opposed to the original Black Ops, in which focused mainly on the numbers Mason. It was a very mysterious campaign, definitely, I would say, my favorite campaign. I loved the Black Ops 1 campaign. It definitely kept you thinking. It was definitely creepy, and I loved the mystery behind it. But this game's going to be a lot more realistic, and I have been hearing that it's going to be even more gory than Modern Warfare. It will be on the new engine that Modern Warfare is using, that was developed by Infinity Ward Poland. Now, I'm not entirely sure what you guys will think of that, because I know some people aren't a fan of the movement style in Modern Warfare, but then again, Treyarch could definitely tweak it and rework it into their more fluid playstyle. I have no idea. There's also going to apparently be a lot of shock factor within the campaign like Modern Warfare's. So Sledgehammer Games / Ravensoft were working previously on a campaign not in the Black Ops universe, and the new campaign that Treyarch are working on is going to be entirely different and built from the ground up, but will be reusing a lot of stuff from this old campaign. Apparently, the campaign will be a retelling of the Vietnam story. However, we will see it from a bunch of perspectives, from the US, South Vietnam, and the Viet Cong perspectives. Okay, so Alex Mason and also Sergeant Frank Woods are set to return within this campaign. Now, I'm assuming there's going to be a ton of other characters from the Black Ops franchise returning. However, those are the only two that I have confirmed. However, and this is the big thing, apparently they will have new actors to the actors that were within the original Black Ops. So it's going to be just like Modern Warfare, where it's going to be a complete reboot of the Black Ops franchise. It's going to be a new storyline with some similar threads to the original story, but it's going to be a new story. As I was saying, it's going to be exploring the real life events of the war as opposed to all of this numbers stuff, and the interrogation that Mason underwent, and the brainwashing. Apparently there is going to be an interrogation within the campaign though, and apparently it is really gory. Now, since this game is going to be a reboot of the Black Ops franchise, there are two different names which I have heard are going to be the most likely. However, the game is currently using a code name which is Project Zeus. So I've been hearing the likely name for this year's Call of Duty is simply just Black Ops, or possibly Black Operations. Those are the two most likely titles. However, I have also heard Black Ops 5 thrown around. But since it is a reboot, I do not think it is going to be called Black Ops 5. Unless it somehow ties into the Specialist Stories cutscenes within Black Ops 4, and potentially they could have retconned it to be the other way around, and instead Woods is in the chair this time around. I don't think this is going to be the case, however. As I was saying, I have heard Black Ops and Black Operations are the most likely titles for the game. I may still include Black Ops 5 within the title of this video just as a placeholder, because that is a heavy search term, but I don't think it's actually going to be called that. If the roles were reversed due to it being retconned, we could play from the perspective of Sergeant Frank Woods previously, but now playing as Mason. Now, I have heard that apparently Mason is going to be within the very first mission of the campaign. Now, my source did send me lyrics from the song called Rush Russians from Sting, of which reads, "There is no monopoly of common sense on either side of the political fence. We share the same biology regardless of ideology. Believe me when I say to you, I hope the Russians love their children too. There's no such thing as a winnable war. It's a lie we don't believe anymore." So I wonder if they are going to use this song in the campaign or potentially within the reveal trailer or one of the trailers. Okay, so as I was saying, the most information that I have is actually regarding multiplayer, so let's jump right on into it. So, first things first, large player count modes are returning within this game. Since it is using Modern Warfare's engine, they're able to have a lot higher player counts that we haven't had previously. So 32 versus 32 is apparently returning. Now within Ground War there are going to be 5 flags once again, so A to E like we saw within Modern Warfare. Now I only have details on one map so far for Ground War in this year's Black Ops game, and apparently it's a massive ice map. There are 2 sides to this map, and the map apparently features snowmobiles that you can literally just skate around on, and there are also tanks. So most of the multiplayer maps within this year's Black Ops are going to be 3-lane maps, the classic Treyarch style. They're going to be a lot more formulaic maps and a lot less cluttered like we've seen within Modern Warfare. So apparently in the center of the map, the middle lane, there is a big ice portion that's just flat ice, that is some sort of lake that has frozen over, and then on the left side is a forest with loads of trees.
Imagine yourself in a frozen forest.
And then on the right side, there's a load of different bunkers, and there is also a train there. My source believes that this map is set within Vietnam. Now in terms of the kill streaks on the map, there is apparently a flamethrower that is really overpowered, so I cannot wait to use that. Obviously with this game taking place within Vietnam / the Cold War, the flamethrower fits right at home, and I can't wait to go ahead and check that out. Now here is a big thing, and I know this is going to be somewhat controversial. Apparently health regen is not automatic within the game, and you will need to use a stim shot like within Black Ops 4 in order to manually regenerate health. Now this could change during the development process, but I will be sure to keep you guys up to date if this ever does change, but apparently that is what it is like right now. But it could always be swapped out to an equipment like we've seen within Modern Warfare. But right now I am hearing that it's a mandatory part of the game. Now I was told that this is something that is not a final decision. Apparently decisions like this are not finalized until around June, and they give playtesters a load of different versions of the game to try and get opinions and see which things people like the best. So if a ton of playtesters don't like this, it's possible that it may go to automatic health regen, and they just add a stim shot as a piece of equipment to regen health faster. As you guys know, when I initially covered Warzone leaks, I had heard that there were 2 different builds of the game, one with automatic health regen and one with manual, and obviously once the game released we had automatic health regen, but it could have gone either way depending on how people liked the game. So I need to stress this is something that is not final, because I've seen a lot of people getting angry about this on Twitter. So in terms of the 6v6 maps, there's apparently a warehouse map. Once again it's a 3-lane map, and in the middle is apparently a massive open field with a tower to snipe from, and apparently this field is extremely open, and if you run out into this field you are likely to be taken down straight away, so that's a big danger area. But if you get that height advantage within the sniper tower, you are definitely going to be at a significant advantage. Now within the open field there is absolutely no room to camp whatsoever at all. Apparently one of the other lanes features a river that goes from one spawn to the next. So the next 6v6 map that I have gotten details of is apparently a map set within a city. Now I'm not sure what city this is set within, but apparently it looked like a Russian city, but I am not sure, it could be in an entirely different place. But apparently on the left side of the map there are a load of cars, and apparently the city is really clustered, there's a lot going on, and my source told me that it's apparently way too big for 6v6, so probably they will either shrink the map down or turn it into a ground war map or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. I'm definitely getting Anaya Palace vibes from this map, but obviously we are still a while away until this game releases, so things can definitely change up until then. So some further streaks that I have gotten details of. Obviously the UAV is returning, the counter UAV is also returning, and there is apparently a bomber plane. I'm not entirely sure on the name of it, but essentially it will shoot out these bomber planes which will kill any kill streak in the sky, or destroy them should I say. Here's the big thing, there is also a dog kill streak returning within the game. Now I'm not sure if this will be a dog that will simply walk by your side like Riley within Call of Duty Ghosts, or whether it will be like the dog within Black Ops 4 that assisted you as a specialist for Nomad. Operators are also returning within this game, so I don't think specialist characters are returning for those of you guys who are wondering. So that is all the multiplayer information that I have thus far. It's not a great deal, but it is information on 3 different maps within the game. Okay, so next up in terms of zombies. Zombies is apparently going to be a lot different to before. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of specific information on it just yet because it is still early days, but apparently there's still going to be perks, a pack-a-punch, and stuff like that, but apparently there's going to be a lot more barriers to play and different ways to play the mode. Unfortunately, I do not have specifics just yet, but hopefully I do get some information soon. Now, this information is coming from a couple different people. A couple different people have told me this. This is a different source who told me the multiplayer information, but I have been hearing rumors that Transit is going to be on disc for Call of Duty 2020. However, I have not been able to verify this with the source that told me the multiplayer information, of which is the most credible source. So definitely take this with a grain of salt until I can get more definitive information. But as you guys are aware, there was originally planned to be 2 season passes within Black Ops 4, but obviously the community didn't react well to Black Ops 4 Zombies, and Activision just didn't see it as being very profitable. Not many people were buying elixirs, and apparently they cut their budget, and Treyarch had to massively change their plans. But apparently the first season pass was originally planned to be all Chaos maps, so we would see 2 extra Chaos maps after Ancient Evil, and then the second season pass would be the Ether remake, so Alpha Omega, the Nuketown remake, Tag to Totem, the Call of the Dead remake, but we were also supposed to see a remake of Transit, Die Rise, and also Buried. However, due to all these issues that they were having behind the scenes, they had to scrap a lot of their plans and they completely reworked the storyline. So I'm honestly not entirely sure what is going on with these maps because they were fully made within Black Ops 4, but as far as I'm aware, I don't think a Zombies Chronicles 2 / a DLC 5 is happening anymore for that game due to Treyarch being forced into work on Call of Duty 2020, and I have been hearing it's been pushed back for this game. However, obviously Call of Duty 2020 is on a new engine, so they would have to rework them an absolute bunch. And also in terms of zombies, I have heard that they are going to be creating some sort of Ether reboot, but I do not have specifics on what exactly that is, whether it's just within the same universe as the Ether story but it's just an entirely new story, or whether it's going to be a new take on the Ether story with the same characters but they're rebranded and have a new backstory, just like we've seen within Modern Warfare. That could totally work, especially due to the multiverses. We could just simply explore some other multiverse. I honestly have no idea what is going on, to be honest, and I wish I had more concrete zombies information because I would love to bring that to you guys, so hopefully I can get some within the future. However, as far as I'm aware, Chaos is not going to be returning within Call of Duty 2020. It's set to be an entirely new story. Now obviously Jason Blundell has left Treyarch. Obviously this was rumored since last year. Obviously I had heard leaks of a firing and other people have heard that, but it could have just been a mutual decision. I would imagine he was unfortunately under a lot of stress due to the community not really liking Black Ops 4 and blaming him, even though that was never the right thing to do, because even if you don't like Black Ops 4, it's a whole team that works on it. He is not the only person, and if you don't like the game, it's not just his fault. And to be fair, I think the biggest reason why people didn't like the game, aside from the fact that there was obviously a load of crashes on release, was just due to burnout and people getting bored of zombies for playing it for so long, I included. But due to him leaving, there will be somewhat of a difference in creative vision. Unfortunately, I have not heard who is taking over as the zombies lead just yet, but Craig Houston is still at the studio as far as I'm aware, so we can expect a lot of great dialogue that he works on and hopefully some very good storytelling. But yeah, with Jason leaving, it makes sense as to why Chaos is not coming back, because people People didn't really like it within Black Ops 4, and since he was the one who envisioned the idea with the help of the writing team at Treyarch, it would seem a bit odd for them to continue it, especially within a Vietnam game. When I have heard that they are trying to go for a more realistic zombies experience that's a bit more grounded rather than a ton of the fantasy stuff that we've seen within recent years. Because apparently, judging from their QA testers, people prefer that style of zombies, so I think that is what we are going to be seeing again. Now, I don't really know how a Transit remake would fit into the game because we know that the Ether story is over, and if they are going to be creating some sort of reboot or some sort of retelling of a story or potentially a new story entirely that is just within the Ether universe or whatever the case ends up being, I don't know how this Transit remake would tie in because I'm pretty sure they changed around their story for how they closed off the Ether storyline, at least somewhat, especially with the remakes, especially with what they originally intended for these Transit, Die Rise and Buried remakes. So I'm sure if they were to bring them back, they would probably be a lot different than they originally intended, because they were originally intended to be full-fledged remakes with a new story, new Easter egg, new cutscenes and all of that jazz, new areas. But honestly, if they are going to be starting up some sort of new story within Call of Duty 2020, then I could totally see them just being faithful remasters, to be honest. And they may have just changed their plans, but I'm just speculating here. Unfortunately, I don't have concrete information, and I don't know how on earth or when the Die Rise and the Buried remakes will come. But to be honest, I could totally see us getting more Zombies DLC than usual, because multiplayer DLC is going to be free within Call of Duty 2020, like within Modern Warfare. So right now they are thinking about having a Zombies pass, because it wouldn't make sense to give away the Zombies maps for free because they take a lot more time and work than multiplayer, and it's more of a niche audience that would be willing to pay for DLC. But in terms of a Zombies season pass, talks are still in the works and nothing is set in stone just yet, and if so, we could end up getting these remakes or remasters or whatever they end up being bundled in with that. Maybe Transit could be on disc as a pre-order bonus, or with the digital deluxe edition / hardened edition / bundled in with the season pass, and then Buried and Die Rise release later. I don't know, that's just food for thought. Now obviously there are going to be no supply drops within this game because thankfully Activision finally saw the light of day, and obviously before Modern Warfare released, a very last minute change was made and they removed supply drops from the game, even though Infinity Ward tried to pretend like they were never supposed to be in the game, even though they're within the files of the game. But finally, due to backlash from the leaks prior to Modern Warfare, Activision did change their plans, so the microtransaction system is probably going to be very similar to what we've seen within Modern Warfare. Treyarch have already confirmed that. Now, last year I made a video talking about the fact that they were currently in discussion of bringing back some of the Ether characters / campaign characters for a new storyline, and honestly I could totally see this being the case. I have also heard rumors, these are just rumors once again, I've not been able to verify zombie stuff with my source just yet, that there's going to be some sort of new storyline which is going to be based around Vietnam. So apparently we might be getting Vietnam zombies, and if that is the case, maybe we could be playing as the campaign characters and it may somehow tie it into the campaign. Anyways, yeah, like I was saying, I don't have that much concrete zombies information so far. I really wish I did. The last concrete zombies information that I heard was way over 6 months ago now when I made a video, so it's probably very out of date now, and that was when Treyarch had only just taken over development of this game, so discussion was still in its early stages and they were discussing stuff like an Ether reboot and stuff like that. Now obviously Buried is pretty much done already within Blackout in Black Ops 4, so that's pretty much all the proof that you need to see to actually believe that Treyarch were working on a Transit, a Die Rise and also a Buried remake for the game. Obviously with Treyarch now being forced to take over Call of Duty 2020, that is another reason for the fact that the zombies development just went all over the place. Obviously we saw things like the cartoon cutscenes for Alpha Omega and also Tag the Totem, which is a very weird way to close off the Ether storyline, and it really is unfortunate that they had their budget cut so much, even though the game was still making billions in microtransactions. It's just that zombies just wasn't profitable enough for Activision to want to waste money on it. Obviously there is also a remade section of Diner, and in multiplayer such as on Remnant there's a ton of Transit assets such as the bus and the lava. We have assets of all of the Transit characters in the game. We have Ted, the bus driver as well. Literally everything was setting up for this second DLC 5 after the huge success of the original Zombies Chronicles being the best-selling DLC of 2017. And it made perfect sense for it to release this year with Modern Warfare not having a zombies mode, and maybe it would have still released if it wasn't for Treyarch being forced to take over development of Call of Duty 2020 because the maps are pretty much apparently already done within Black Ops 4. The reason why we've seen remade sections in Blackout is because they were working on it simultaneously. They were working on these remakes prior to the release of Black Ops 4 itself. To save time, they were working on Blackout and also these remakes simultaneously, similar to how they were working on Revelations and also Zombies Chronicles 1 within Black Ops 4 simultaneously, because that map was a mashup of remakes. It's a very similar story. There is even a DLC 5 mentioned within the files of the game. Now maybe the remakes could be set after Tag der Toten, where our Victor's characters are within the Dark Ether. That is a theory that I've had for quite some time. Anyways, the last thing that I want to talk about is within my video that I posted over 6 months ago now, where I talked about this game being a Black Ops reboot. I was the first to break the story. I talked about the fact that Raven Software were apparently working on creating a Blackout 2.0 that was going to be on this new engine. However, when speaking to my sources, they have heard nothing about Battle Royale for this game. Now, once again, obviously when I had received that information, it was so long ago, so there is a good chance that it may be out of date information, and either it was just within talks and had not been started on, or maybe they started on it but cancelled it. But right now my sources cannot confirm if there is going to be a Battle Royale within this game, unfortunately. However, a couple things had me thinking. As I was saying, Sledgehammer Games are apparently developing a free-to-play Call of Duty game that is set to release in 2021. Now, they are developing this alongside helping Treyarch with Call of Duty 2020. They also helped with creating Warzone with Infinity Ward and Raven Software and High Moon Studios. And I was wondering what if they were working on some sort of Battle Royale for Call of Duty 2020, but they are now reusing those assets for this free-to-play Call of Duty game. The reason why I say this is because apparently this game is going to have a lot of Battle Royale elements, and it's apparently going to be some sort of open world game. That's all the information I have on it, and it's going to be a spin-off to the Call of Duty franchise. It's not going to be the main Call of Duty for that year. So I honestly have no idea, I have no clue whatsoever what this game is going to be, but definitely they could have reused some assets from this Battle Royale if they were working on it and then it got scrapped. I don't know, that's just food for thought, that's just an idea. The reason why I say this is because YouTubers were apparently told at the Warzone Capture event that Warzone is going to be the last Battle Royale for Call of Duty. Now, plans could totally change, that is definitely something that could happen. Or maybe what if the Call of Duty 2020 Battle Royale, the Treyarch Battle Royale, is instead going to be added to the Warzone application, and it could be free to play as well. It could just be added as a new map for Warzone whilst still being set and based around Call of Duty 2020. Because last I heard, it was going to be some sort of Cold War, more gory, more gritty version, a more realistic version of Blackout. In terms of the map, that is, that could totally be something possible, but again, that's just all speculation. Anyways, that's pretty much going to conclude today's video. It has been an extremely long one. I wish I had even more information, but so far the most concrete information I have gotten is for multiplayer and also some campaign information, and I have only heard very small little bits of information regarding zombies so far. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for latest and greatest Modern Warfare news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.